I have a personal vendetta against the STAR method. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Beverly. Essentially, the STAR method is situation, task, action, and result. And it is a way in which to structure your interview responses so that you come across as succinct. And I personally have a problem with it. And I want to preface this by saying that I know for a lot of people, the STAR method is really valuable. It helps them be able to organize their thoughts. It helps them to think more clearly about how they can properly communicate what they do and how they do it uniquely. But one of the biggest things I have learned as a COO who's been on either side of the hiring table, the STAR method is really constrictive. And I think that it is something that, for whatever reason, has become the universal standard, despite the fact that people don't think universally the same. So as somebody who has struggled with the STAR method in the past, I think it's really frustrating that we are in a time where you're getting to a place where I have seen on job descriptions, people saying, we're going to ask you to answer in the STAR method format. But what if you don't think that way? What if that's something that doesn't come natural to you? And I think one of the biggest reasons why so many people struggle in the interview process to begin with is because if you are constantly thinking about how to answer a question in a particular way and making sure you're answering it the right way every time, then you're not focusing on answering the question in a way that actually is going to showcase what you do best, because you're focusing the whole time on, okay, did I get the S? Did I get the, oh crap, I forgot the action. Let me go back. Even on the hiring manager side, what I struggle with the STAR method is that for so many of us, I understand the value of wanting a concise interview process, especially if you have interviews back to back on the same day. Even I have been in situations where you ask a candidate a question directly and you're struggling to figure out where they're going with the answer. And even sometimes you have to lead them to the answer, like, oh, what we're really looking for is X, right? At the same time, we'll say that I think that it does a disservice to both the hiring team and the candidate to require candidates to use the STAR method, to keep pushing the STAR method as like the gold standard. How many of us think that way? How many of us think in structured formats? If somebody asks you a question and they're like, can you tell me about a time when you have supported somebody on your team? We don't sit down and think, well, here was the situation, here was the task, here was the issue. What I wish that we would do more of is encourage other frameworks to come to the forefront that actually speak to the ways in which people think uniquely in order to get the end result. Like, for example, if you're a hiring manager and at the end of the day, you want to hear what their leadership methodology is, for example, just ask that directly. Don't ask, give us a time when, can you tell us in one word what your leadership methodology is? So somebody can answer you directly, right? Or if you genuinely want to know the tools and systems that somebody has worked with, instead of giving them a behavioral question of like, tell us about a time you've used these tools and systems to be able to optimize your whatever it is, just ask them directly, what tools and systems have you used on, or better yet, read the resume, read the resume so that you can see, and then just ask for confirmation. So we see on your resume that you have used these tools. Can you pick one or two of these tools and just tell us how you've used them? And I feel like we overcomplicate the interview process so much. A candidate isn't a mind reader. I can tell when it's constrained. I can tell when it doesn't feel natural. I can tell when somebody pauses because now they've lost their place in the method and they're not really sure how to find themselves back again. I've seen it happen in real time. And I think if we trained and professionally developed people to learn how to answer questions in a way that actually speaks to the why behind the question, then not only will candidates be more confident in general, but also the hiring team will get what they need more often. So for example, if you're asked a question, I use this one a lot of like, tell us about a time that you navigated a difficult customer service interaction, right? If you're thinking about, okay, situation, task, ask yourself, okay, here's the situation, here's what, especially if you hadn't prepared something for that question, right? You're racking your brain. You're already anxious. I can speak for myself. You're anxious going in. Maybe you couldn't find parking, or the train was late, or the Wi-Fi's acted crazy before you get on the Zoom call. Like, there's already a mess like heading into there's like it rarely happens smoothly. So come in, you sit down and you're asked a question you weren't prepared for. They're asking for something. Instead of like sitting through that structure, instead thinking to yourself, okay, what are they actually asking of me? What are they really looking for from me? We'll tell you as a hiring manager, a lot of the time when we ask a question about difficult experiences, what we are looking for is, how do you resolve conflict? What are your philosophies on conflict management? Do you value connection? And even in the customer service context, do you value white glove service, for example? And if you can speak to that at the very beginning of like, okay, well, I think they just want to know, do I value the customer's always right? How do I communicate that at the very beginning, regardless of what the story is? Then the hiring team gets what they want because they have confirmation from you of what your philosophy is and relating to the why of that question, that you believe in white glove service, that you confirm that you align with the value, right? And then no matter what you say in relation to the story afterwards, you've at minimum communicated what the hiring team is looking for. And there's actually a very easy way for you to determine what the why is without actually needing to guess like live. Instead of practicing the STAR method and constricting yourself, my recommendation would be to go into an AI tool and have it put in the job description of the job you're about to interview for, including your resume, right? And then ask the AI tool to give you a list of questions that the hiring team might answer. Bonus points if the titles of the people. So if a recruiter is about to do a phone interview with you, if an HR leader and your SVP of your department is about to do the interview with you, bonus points if you do that, because then you can put that into the tool as well and give it context. Like, I am about to be interviewed by SVP of the department as well as HR for this role. Can you please provide me a list of questions that they may ask, but more specifically, why they would ask them? What are they looking for? The underlining why of the question that I should be thinking about. And why is that the underlining why of the question? Doubling down on whys, asking why 3 times almost. Because what you're doing is you're educating yourself on how business leaders think. You're educating yourself on what hiring managers think. You're educating yourself on what industry leaders and thought leaders think. So when you're in the interview process and they ask you a question that you maybe haven't prepared for, instead of struggling through the STAR method, trying to figure out, okay, how do I organize this in a way? And then you're nervous, and that's where the rambling comes in and everything else. Okay, based off of the question that they've asked me and what I have now learned and educated myself on as it relates to why a business thinks the way it does, or why they might ask me this in this particular context, and the research I've done, right, for this interview, I understand that they're asking me this because insert reason here. So let me answer to that first and then find my way back to an example. And it won't matter what that question is. If they ask you, tell us what type of tools that you've used in the past. They want to know that I have the experience to be able to, because I saw in the job description, specifically are looking for somebody who has experience building data tables. They want somebody who has experience that has used these coding languages to do whatever. I'm going to answer that first based off of what I know from the job description. So I might say, well, one thing for sure is that I have 10 plus years of experience building data tables using tools like Tableau, so on, so on, so on. And so a couple of examples of where I've done that is, and then you go into the story. So you're immediately validating, you understand what the why is. It's a muscle. And I think when we train people to learn frameworks as golden standards that everybody should know, and then it doesn't work for them, or they stumble through an interview, or they get stressed, or the hiring team doesn't get what they need, because that's ultimately what these frameworks are for to begin with. But then the candidates are blaming themselves as to why they don't feel like they're performing well in the interview process, as opposed to educating themselves on being comfortable in any environment. Because if we think about it, anywhere can be an interview. You're not going to use the STAR method in real life, like at a party. That's not how people talk. If you're at a party and you're networking at an event and somebody's like, tell us about what you do, or tell us about, what happened at work the other day with that angry customer, or that difficult situation, or client that you saved. Like, tell us what happened with that. You're not going to sit at a party and go, well, the situation was that, and here was what we did. Like, this is not how we talk. This is not how we communicate. And I think the reason I'm so passionate about it is because these frameworks are frameworks, but not every framework works for everyone. And I think it becomes a very dangerous thing when we tell people, especially in an interview process, because I've seen this with my eyes. I've had it happen to me where they're like, we would prefer for you to answer this in the STAR method. What the heck are you? Do you want me to show up as my best self in this interview process or not? Because if you're telling me to answer in a particular way, but you're also asking me to show up authentically, and I would not answer that way, but I would still get you what you want because I'm confident in my ability to be able to answer questions you throw my way. Like, no. And I think that's where it becomes a problem, because for a lot of people, that isn't natural. So if you educate yourself on the why behind any question that you could be asked using AI tools, using a mentor. I've talked about adplist.org. It's not sponsored, by the way, but I've talked about them, or you can literally right now for free go to their site and get connected with a mentor in the industry that you are applying to. And you could pitch this to them and say, one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, what are some of the underlining whys behind the questions that I've gotten? I've written down a couple of the questions that I've been stumped on in the interview process. Like, can you give me feedback on whether or not I've answered the why? That's also a great asset, right? But it's educating you. And then no matter what, if you're thrown a question, you don't have to worry about the nonsense. So to me, I wanted to talk about the STAR method because I have shared now multiple videos. I have the WTF method. I've got the pain point power method. I've got the C method. I have a bunch of interview methods. So comment in the comments below if you want me to do a video covering all of these different methods that are not the STAR method, because I have a lot. I have a lot of them. I have so many that I have not shared on my platform yet. And I think a big reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I remember being in the interview process and feeling so constricted and realizing, this isn't working for me. So I'm going to create methods that make sense for me, the way my mind works, and do so in a way that still makes it succinct. I'm still making sure I'm not rambling. I'm still making sure that I'm getting across exactly what they're looking for. I'm still making sure that I'm being thoughtful about achieving an answer that the hiring team is requesting of me, but I need to do so in a way that actually makes sense for my brain. And I don't think that enough people are giving themselves permission to do that because they're in survival mode. And if you tell me I need to answer in STAR method, okay, if every creator is saying that this is the golden standard, this is what we have to do, then that's just what I'm just going to force myself to learn that way. Even though when I'm in the interview process and I'm asked a question that I'm not prepared for, even if I'm asked a question I am prepared for, I stumble through it because I'm anxious and I'm stressed and I'm thinking about like, oh wait, did I get the action? Did I get the result? It's too much pressure. It's too much anxiety. And so my recommendation to anybody who is struggling with the STAR method, especially in this market, is research other frameworks that make sense for your mind, how your brain works best. And you might hear this and go like, actually, Beverly, I'm still figuring that out. But I'm serious, like think about what makes sense for you and your brain. And if you're struggling, like make sure you like this video, subscribe, comment below if you want more frameworks, because there are a bunch of ways to be able to answer interview questions in a way that are simple, without a ton of jargon, without a ton of fluff. The other thing I want you to think about is what is the why? What is the why underneath the question? And I'm telling you, if you can understand the why underneath the question, you will be able to answer any freaking interview question that's ever asked you on the fly, ever, any environment. Doesn't matter the framework, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter the job title, doesn't matter. You'll be able to answer because you'll quickly be able to say, oh, this is what they're actually looking for. And to do so will equip you so well in so many environments because it's applicable outside of the interview process as well. If someone's coming up to you and they're like, hey, so thinking politically, right? What are your thoughts on, okay, well, what do they actually want to know? What do I understand about the context surrounding this question? What's the why here? It'll just help you in all aspects of your life. If there are any leaders watching this video, if you truly want people to answer in a way that is authentic and is a way that will actually communicate their value to you, that will actually showcase how incredible they are because you invited them into that room for a reason. Don't constrict them. Ask them exactly what you want from them. I think overall, these hiring processes would be a lot more succinct for everybody and a lot more appealing for everybody if you were just very direct. If you want to know what tools can you give us a list of the tools you've used? If you want to know if they believe that white glove service is important, ask them, do you believe white glove service is important? Don't make them jump through hoops with a question and answer game of like trying to figure it. Just ask them, do you believe white glove service is important? Do you believe that playing nice with others is important at work? I'm sure you get some interesting responses. But I just be direct. How to fill out a CRM workflow? And if so, what tool did you use to do it? Yes or no? Imagine how much more simple hiring processes would be if they were just yes or no questions. Just like, you can, great. You got the job. But I think people would argue, well, if everyone's doing yes or no questions, then couldn't everybody just say yes to everything? You can still ask for examples after that. But I think that's what the resume is for. Anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about the STAR method. Those are my thoughts on the STAR method. And I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Does it work for you? Why does it work for you? If you use STAR method all the time, you're like, Beverly, no, like I live, eat, breathe, sleep by STAR method. I'd love to hear from you. What is it about that system that works for you? And also, if you don't like STAR method, tell me in the comments, what is it about the STAR method and the way your mind works that doesn't work? So I can be thinking about frameworks that can speak to what comes up for you in the interview process to help you still with frameworks, but that makes sense for your mind. So thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything else because I've got a lot of things to say. And I thought about it this morning and I said to myself, I can make a quick video about this. So chat soon. All right, y'all. Until next time.